Hey, hey, hey.
Every time. I'm not going to lie, every single time. I should be used to it by now. I don't know when I will be. Every time that gets me going.
Oh, yeah, we rocking back here. Hey, welcome. I'm Dr. Lynne.
Justin Hurdle Price.
And welcome to Working It Out Across Generations. Thank you for tuning in. Last week, we were supposed to be here doing this juicy topic, but I was in Panama and the tech stuff wasn't working quite right.
Yeah. And I would have happily taken over if I wasn't nervous. It's a little early, so we've got episodes where we will have one-on-one time with our audience and with y'all and bringing topics in of our own interest, right? But not yet. And I'm not going to rush myself in that process. So thank you for hanging in there.
Yeah, but we got a good one for you today because working it out across generations, we talk about all things conflict from the everyday to the big ones. And the juicy topic today, Justin?
Yeah, today we're talking about whether or not it's okay to keep secrets in families. Now, I think the harsh reality of all of this is simply that even just saying that, what's coming to mind is that I think every family has secrets. I think there's something that is being, withheld for whatever reason. And I think a lot of those reasons do stem from, love, from protection, from a good place. However, this episode is really just dissecting whether or not, your impact is landing the same as your intentions when it comes to keeping family secrets. These things can rock family dynamics. We know the truth sets us free, as people say, right? But really, what does that look like? How does that information get brought up to attention? We're going to be dissecting really what all of that looks like and how that can show up in your life.
Yeah, because family secrets can cause conflict. And I agree. Every family has secrets, even if you don't know. I mean, the secrets can be kept so well that you don't even know. And I'll be talking a little while about, I didn't even know there were secrets in my family. They were kept so well. So I just want to say for this topic, what's interesting for me is I started watching this show called Black Cake. And it really is about the family secrets. And in fact, the matriarch in the family had made all of these recordings before her death. She knew that she had cancer. She made these recordings before her death. And she was spilling all the tea, all the secrets in the recordings. And the impact was incredible. Changed lives and changed relationships around among her children. And I just found it really interesting. And I do know that within my lifetime, I've had people who have said, this secret was shared with them. They never knew. Sometimes it's like, I didn't know that this person was my father, or I didn't know that I had other siblings, or that there was other family members, or there's a lot of things. Didn't know that I was adopted. There's just a lot of things that people did not know in their families. And I really enjoyed watching the show because it was really talking about that. And hey, this topic is big on the talk on the talk shows. They run to talk about what are the secrets, and then the audience explodes. And family secrets are something that I think everybody can relate to. And like I said, even if you don't know that it is in your family, sooner or later you're going to find out that there's some stuff going on. Because like I said, it happened for me. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm taking a lot from what you just said. I think for me personally, secrets, things you don't know, right? Things that just weren't brought to your attention. I think for me, a lot came after the passing of my father, right? I think there's a lot of rebirth in grief and in loss, which is, I think, the weirdest kind of phenomena out there, right? But it is very true. So I feel like there were certain things like that, I like wish I knew that my dad accomplished, that I would have wanted to, like, you know, be a family to watch him receive some sort of award for work or something like that. He was very active in his communities that he was around and stuff. So things of that nature, I definitely feel like, you know, we've as a family had to, you know, kind of experience or go through. But at the end of the day, I'm saying that knowing I'm a person with other people in my life who have their own minds, their own hearts, their own reasonings for why they would want to withhold something for themselves, right? And that's something that, you know, is kind of like a hard thing that I had to radically accept, in the sense of, you know, like, as much as we are an open book, open, dynamic family,
Right.
and we achieve those goals, you know, actively day in, day out. You know, there's just, people are complex. We're some of the most
Yep.
complex species on the planet that's ever been created. So I can't really come into any engagement expecting, you know, I guess maybe not the full story, or just, you know, thinking that there's not a chance that there is something for themselves that they just are not comfortable sharing. And so, right, I think this topic is beautiful because we're talking further. Okay, well, if you make those choices, what does that look like? What can come about from that? How can your life change? How can your life shift for good or for worse, right? It's really about, you know, intention versus impact. The reality is your intention can be well-meaning, well-spirited, in the right place, and it can land the complete opposite for that other person, right? And so really just walking that tightrope of, you know, what's respectful of certain relationships, but what's also respectful of what I need for my own
Right.
sanity and ability to keep living, keep doing what I got to do. You know, it's a very interesting topic that I'm excited to get into today.
Well, it's funny because just this morning I was listening to someone who I tune into a lot, and she shared that she had a relative who would take her to this particular shop, and they would interact with this gentleman in the shop, and he wasn't really that friendly to her. And it wasn't until she was like 15 that this relative revealed that was her actual biological father. Again, like, I'm telling you, family secrets are deep. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is, you always want to get to the roots. Like, why are people keeping secrets? And some of it, for me, a lot of it is cultural, right? Cultural in the means, what I'm saying is, like, when I grew up, it was very clear, you youngins don't get in grown folks' business. So no adults were going to talk about anything, much less the stuff that people, you know, were
That's kind of
keeping
like
secret.
building the foundation for
for wise, right, for keeping secrets. And
yeah.
I know it's not I know African Americans, that Black folk, I know that we're not the only culture.
Absolutely.
I know we're not the only culture that had that belief too. It's rare that I talk to somebody growing up, not just my age, but even, you know, a decade or two behind me, who grew up where all the adults sat around with the kids, you know, and talked about all of the grown folks' business. Like, that wasn't something that you did. So again, as you said, it's not always out of a malicious, it's often not out of a malicious place.
Absolutely.
It could be just culturally, you never talked about it. And then as time passed, there seemed to be no reason to reveal it, or somebody felt like it would be more harmful, right, to reveal than helpful. I mean, there are people who found out that their siblings were actually their parent, right? Or one of the siblings was actually a parent, and they were raised to believe that was their sibling. I mean, there's so
that's real. I really thought that was just like a TV.
I was getting ready to say,
writing,
most people think
right?
it's like television.
Like that's actually a real thing that is,
and it's not uncommon.
That'll rock someone's entire existence of just what they know.
That's right.
Their programming of what they know the world to be. Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely interesting.
That's right. And then unfortunately, there are harmful secrets. Like, the intention is to keep someone, particularly someone in the family, from getting in trouble. Far too many children are abused or molested by family member, and unfortunately don't get the support from family members when they try to talk about it, and then people try to put that underground and don't tell anybody, and it either gets revealed later or doesn't get revealed or talked about. And so that absolutely happens and is really harmful. But I think that a lot of the family secret things just don't come from a place of maliciousness. They come from a place of the culture. And as you said, love, I love this person and I don't want them to know the harm or, and I think this is cultural too, or I present myself in a certain way, and I do not want the youngins to think anything less of me. Because I can tell you, for me, right? Like I said at the top of the show, I did not think my family had family secrets, but I found some out after my parents have both passed a while ago, right? My mom over 30 years ago, and my dad about 15 years ago. And with each of the passings, I found out a family secret, and the piece about I'm presenting myself a certain way, right? I found out a secret about my grandmother that I was like, oh, so you got on everybody else about this particular issue, but here you are. You find out after my mom dies, you were actually one of those people that you look down on and talk bad about all the time. And so that can be a reason that people keep the secrets too, because they're playing this role like they're this particular way. And they're actually not. And I believe that comes from the, I won't say hatred, but the anger they have at themselves for being that particular way as a person. And so they then look at others who are that way. They look down on them, and the resentment is really for themselves. But in any case, secrets are secrets, right? And within families, they can do harm. I mean, you have to really look at the impact. And so I don't know, based on what I just said, what are your thoughts?
I think what's interesting is how things come up, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to get dark if I'm bringing grief up and things of that nature for people. I just know that for me with these recent years being my first real experience dabbling into what that emotional roller coaster really is like, I'm really just paralleling from my experience, right? But I think it's very interesting how I feel like more has come up from the people around me after I lost my father. Like it's almost as if there was something in everyone affected that came out that we all didn't know. Okay. That we all didn't know we were struggling with, or we all didn't know was an experience that we had, whether it was in school or in a workplace environment or with another family member, right? It was something in which, as I said, like that loss, that separation somehow made us want to bridge certain gaps of experience, right? So I know that for even just me and my brother living in the same household, and yes, being 6 years apart, and going to similar schools and things of that nature, those experiences were completely different for us, considering that we are different people, not just by the chemical makeup, right, but by the things we liked, by the people we hang around, by the things of that nature. And so to get to know some of the things that he's struggled with, that I thought he might have been like a superhero through, that I thought he might have been superhuman through, right? To bring that humility factor in and bridge some of those gaps has definitely been something that I've found beneficial in the sense of, I guess, when certain truths that people are comfortable with come to light. However, it's interesting. I would love to, tap in with someone who obviously wouldn't share the secret, I guess, but someone who's got something that they would want to take to the grave, like that they actively are choosing to, take to the afterlife and whatever that looks like, because, one of the first things that's coming up that I'm going to talk about when it comes to things to consider when keeping a secret and a family secret is that it's an active choice, right? I don't think every situation in which you're keeping a secret, you're necessarily, or all the time, right? I don't think you're necessarily lying in every situation, in every picture, right? Perspective. However, I think it is the simple fact that, it is a withholding of information.
And choosing to do that.
And it's that, thank you. It's an active choice to do that. And as I said, when you're someone who's got certain things that you really don't want out, right, for whatever the reasons are, knowing that you'll have to keep that up, like you'll really have to give energy to making sure that information is emotionally tucked away. I just wonder what that process looks like for those people, but it's an active choice that you're making. And I mean, who knows? At some point, lying could come up just off of the foundational aspect of keeping a secret is withholding information, but something to consider, right? Next thing I would consider, or say that y'all should consider when it comes to keeping secrets, family secrets, the reasons why it's best kept, right? Honestly, go down that list, the pros part of the list, right? We already know some of the cons when we go into these things, right? This person could be hurt. This person could respond this way. If this person's doing good in a certain respect, you don't want to throw them off their game, right? However, that is a process that is, I think, owed if that's an energy that you're going to invest in the sense of, you really want to be clear why you're doing this, why you're going to keep going. And yes, those reasons change, right? But just that emotional check-in with yourself, considering that you are in some ways responsible or in a position of, responsible for someone else's feelings and how they might be able to react to something, right?
But I'm going to say also, for me personally, I think that unless it is going to do harm, it is not a good reason to just say, well, we've kept it all this time, so we might as well. I don't think that's a good reason to keep a family secret. If it's not going to do harm, if it's going to, in fact, even lighten someone's load, and if the person is asking, inquiring, I think that's the thing that I've come across is people asking, because other people have said something or intimated something, and then they're just shut down because the person is like, well, we haven't told them all this time, so I'm not saying anything.
For sure. Thank you. And lastly, I would say the simple question of, will it come out at some point? It is simple. It's a simple question, but it has so many different layers to it, depending on the situation, depending on the secret that's being kept. But will it come out at some point? Is it something in which, I feel like there are certain things energy-wise that the universe kind of brings to light or tries to bring opportunities to, I guess, inquire about certain things. Some of the heavier stuff that you had mentioned already, but even just certain things of like, is my boy liking a girl that I talk to or something like that, right? Like, is that something that could come out at some point? And if it does, being prepared for whatever possibly could happen, right? So kind of game planning the as I said, the pros and cons, right? But that further step of, okay, if this person responds this way, then this is how I'll go about it. If this person responds this way, this is how I'll go about it, while also still remaining open to the fact that that person is completely entitled to react however they want to outside of harm when it comes to certain things being withheld from them of things in their experience and in their nature.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too. I can remember someone saying to their sons, right, there's just particular aspects around the divorce, and their sons wanted to know, could they ask questions about it? And she said, just don't ask me questions that you don't want to hear the truth about. And I just thought that was so brave and enlightening, and And
You've
interesting.
adopted some of that.
Yes, I
in
did,
certain
because I love
situations,
that.
and that's
I was
real.
just like, wow,
And that
yeah.
made me even, okay, wait, yeah, do I really want to know, or do I care enough about this to even bring that out, right? But that's real. I respect that.
It is real. And, I didn't know if it would come out at some point,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I thought, look, if the question is asked, for me, having found out about family secrets, but also having grown up in that era of never having adults share, even as an adult, I just feel like that era went on for a long time. I don't think youngins ever really, I don't remember ever getting to the point where the adults in my life sat down and said, okay, now y'all are finally old enough and we can talk grown folks stuff. Like, very few. So
Yeah.
I feel like they just kept to that because it was easier to keep us out of things, and at whether some things were going to come out at some point or not.
Sure.
Yeah. So we want to talk about 3 ways that keeping secrets can cause harm, because if you're talking about conflict, right, a lot of times the keeping the secrets themselves can cause conflict, and sometimes you're thinking it's okay, I'm just going to keep this secret, but we want you to really think about, it's why we're doing this show, think about, is this going to cause harm? Is it already causing harm? So we want to just give you some ways that we think secrets can cause harm. So the first one, other people know. I have found, I found people know. At least one other person knows. And it's really difficult to find people who can take your secret to their grave. It really is. And if other people know, chances are that person the secret is being kept from is hearing clues or catching a vibe or just getting a sense, if not about what the secret is about, but that there is a secret that involves them, and other people know about it, but they don't know about it. And that can be really harmful, because that person can feel like, why are they being kept out? Or this must be really bad, right? That people don't want to tell me. And it can really create the kind of tension, resentment, right? Especially when they get a sense of who is holding the secret about their life. And I know that that has happened to people that I know, that they know something. I've even been asked by a couple of people, do you know, or did you know? Because people get a sense. So other people knowing, you got to really think about that, and whether it really is better that you be the person that reveals the secret, rather than them getting the sense that everybody else knows, but them.
There's definitely a chemical reaction to, like, maybe just, if you're in a big space and multiple people know something, right? Like a look you get, or maybe even the way people greet you, right? It's like, that's not really usually how that person greets me, or things of that nature.
People go silent.
Right. Like, these are things to consider when, considering the harm piece. People don't want to be embarrassed. People don't want to be hurt. People don't want to be left out, right? These are natural things that, no one wants. But that is nothing but enforcing of those things that people don't want.
Yeah.
So I feel that.
Yeah. The second thing is lack of closure. Unfortunately, too many people do take the secrets to their grave. Yeah. And then the person who the secret is about, they might find out, then there's no way to get closure with that person, or even if you're the person who kept the secret, and then the person you kept the secret about, right, went to their grave, and now your child or whoever, right, is involved in it, now they have no way to be able to talk to that person, to get that closure. And it's really important for people to get closure. I find that most secrets do come out, even if they don't come out right away, they come out in some way over time. And if the person can at least be able to confront the people involved in it, it just helps to give closure. It may be painful. Look, we're all about the difficult conversations here. We recognize that it may involve
painful.
many difficult conversations. It may involve you being seen actually as human, but you think it's weak, right? That somebody now sees you, this person that maybe is your child, whoever, sibling, spouse, whatever, that now they see you in this light. And it's really painful to be seen that way. But at least they know the truth, and they know that you have a past, and you have an opportunity to have a conversation about who you were at that time and why you chose to do this. And they may or may not understand, but at least they have the opportunity to hear your side of things better than the lack of closure.
Absolutely.
And the third thing is secrets can hurt foundation. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, for me, I think, we've talked a bit about, intention setting. We've talked a little bit about, goals and mind frame when going into things. And I think that secrets and keeping secrets only attack those areas that I just mentioned. And I really do believe that good intentions or not, impact or not, even if that person, responds, I guess, the way that, you wished, you hoped, and or that's just in their character to respond in that, bigger person, or, I've got bigger things to worry about kind of way. There are people that, roll with that. And I just believe it hurts the foundation of what once was and what could be, in the sense of open communication, in the sense of honesty, in the sense of safety when bringing certain things up, and even feeling the safety of knowing, if this is my business, and I don't have to, maybe feel pestered into sharing, right? Anything of that nature. I do believe it just it can leave you on a rocky place with the bounds that you've built around certain relationships. And I guess the deeper the relationship, honestly, the more risk when it comes to keeping secrets, and the deeper the secret, then these are things that you have to think about when going in. Is this a relationship that I care about? How much? What am I willing to do for it? What am I willing to not do for it? I think that's a question that people should ask themselves more of, right? What do I not have the capacity for, right? And these are just all things I think on the checklist that you got to think about when you're going into the keeping secrets with people that you care about deeply.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the relationship aspect. I think about people who are in intimate relationships with each other, and there's a large amount of keeping secrets. And I don't want you to know about my past, or I don't want you to know about my family. And there's not good conversation as a result. And the foundation of every good, solid relationship is communication. You've got to be able, good, honest communication. Deep communication is even better, because you really can reveal your feelings around things, and you can also develop this trust of, well, I can tell them something that I don't normally tell people. I love when I hear people say, that's the first time I ever told anybody that they really, really.
That's an honor to me. And I tell them, like, I feel honored that you felt safe enough to do that for me. Yeah. Or, in this space.
Yeah. Sure. I think that is important. And so secrets really can hurt that foundation. You've got to be willing to say what you need to say. And it's interesting, because us talking, I was thinking about a couple of things. And one is, do you feel like coming up we had that kind of cultural, like, this is grown folk stuff? And
no
that
was never even a vibe. That was never even an energy thing. We really were like not adults. Like, we weren't having like adult talk, but like right. In the sense of, as I said, we had family circles where we had the space to speak. We had the opportunity to have a seat at the table, and not just in a, we're just eating kind of thing, and we're listening to our parents talk about grown folk stuff or business or whatever, right? we really were, everyone, got a chance to speak and speak their mind, speak their heart. And that was encouraged. It wasn't like a one-time thing. And then, and we're human. We're a family too. So there were times where we got out of bounds from our foundation. There were times where we responded in ways that we knew for our family, for who we are as well, for character. Like, that's not how we respond to things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing though that we were all about going back into our foundation or trying to build the boundaries to be stronger,
Mm-hmm.
it even increased the safety of making a mistake. It increased the safety of telling y'all if we made a mistake, right? Or did something dumb at school or outside playing ball, whatever it was that we might have been afraid to if we didn't have that. As a lot of young people don't, right? I'm surprised at how many people I've been that first for with certain things in their life, right? Like really they are the type of people that don't really share things themselves, right? But I've naturally just gotten that out of them, right? And as I said, it's an honor because I'm not entitled to that. I'm not entitled to anyone's information, anyone's business, anything of that nature. So, when people do feel comfortable with you going to those lengths, going to those depths, I think that it is something that definitely needs to be honored. And y'all did a great job of just honoring whatever it is we were feeling, whether you agreed or not. Y'all definitely took pride in creating that space and upholding it and making it stronger. And even as my dad's passed, somehow our foundation has gotten even stronger, which I would have thought would kind of rock us off our boat a bit, right? And grief comes in waves, right? So we've definitely struggled there, but never have I ever felt like, I didn't have a seat or I couldn't share this with my brother or with my dad or with my mom or all three of them in the same room together at the table.
Well, that's good. And I was just thinking too, though, what's the difference? And it was between keeping, I think I know the answer, but the difference between keeping secrets and being private about some things in your life, right? Because as you talked about, well, when your dad passed, right, there were questions, there were things that you asked, and in particular about our relationship. So it's just like, okay, well, is that the fact that was never shared with you before? Was that because that's private? That's our relationship, or were we trying to keep it secret? I know that you would ask me some things, or you would say, I can remember you saying you remember this particular way, and I would be like, well, actually, but also
that happened a few times. I ain't gonna lie, that happened a few times.
But I would also feel that that feeling like, am I betraying him, your dad's image, right, before you, or am I just trying to be real, to let you know that this was real relationship, real people. He had faults, I had faults, and so just trying to be honest about who we were. But think about yourself, even growing up, all of us growing up. Did you keep secrets, or were you trying to keep part of your life private because it was you and you were developing and you were trying to figure things out for yourself? I think that there's a difference, and sometimes we don't always know the difference. I can think of parents who don't want their kids to keeping anything from them, and I'm like, but you got to keep some stuff because it's you as a person. You have a right to privacy. You have a right to do some things and think some things and say some things that your parents don't always have to know. But there's some parents who really are strong on that. I remember my mom was she wanted to know everything in our lives and went everywhere, joined every committee for young people so she could be around us all the time. It was like no secrets, but I kept them, I was still able to keep my secret, but it was really hard. But I'm thinking about that, and I want you all to think about that. What is the difference? And is there an opportunity for you to understand that some things can and should be kept private that your children can keep private, and as you as adults in your relationship can keep private. But at some point, if the conversation comes up, how many young people, when they get grown, then their parents start finding out all the stuff they did behind their backs,
We've
right?
already gone through some of that process.
And I honestly,
it's
it
cool.
doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it bothers me sometimes. I'm glad it doesn't bother you. But it's cool. It happens. It's what growing up is. So.
It doesn't bother me. It's kind of cool to hear, like, what? You did
right,
what?
Yeah.
All that time we thought you were where?
Yeah. And I was just not there. I was probably another state away. Yeah.
No, you were. A state. No. Don't let me tell you that. No. We were not that reckless as parents. But
no.
I think that that's a real moment. Yeah, I think that that's a real moment and a really good, a sign of a good relationship when you can, as adults, right? As your children become adults, they can sit down with you and say, remember that time you said such and such, and you thought I was with my friend Jan, and really?
I think for sure I've even heard just from friends, like, like, I love how open you are, like, with your parents. And I'm just like, they weren't the type to, like, I mean, of course, y'all were curious. You want, you asked the questions.
We asked questions.
Like, you asked the questions. Like, to be curious and to ask questions to get an answer, we had to start somewhere, right? But, I mean, again, I just can't stress enough what the foundation building piece really is about, right? There was no judgment in anything. We could talk about anything, whether it came up at a later date or not. Or an earlier date or not. Mm-hmm. Things were definitely, like, we were allowed to do that. We were encouraged to do that. And, and I think you guys also respected the fact that, we're people too. So there's stuff that you're just not going to know. Like, there's stuff that you're just not going to find out. And that's okay too, right? In the sense of, as long as we're okay, we're safe, we're not inflicting harm on other people, we're not inflicting harm on ourselves and things of that nature. Like, all cool, right? So again, the balance is easier to attain and retain when you're very solid in what your foundations are with each relationship that you have. Yeah. I think it's very important to put people where they need to be in your life. That's how you keep the business of you operating to the best of your ability. I think that's a factor.
Yeah. At least. But I think it's hard these days, especially because with technology, there's too many ways for your kids to keep secrets. And I understand. We never went through
even though nothing's
phones,
a secret,
right? But some, maybe nothing's a secret from your peers, but there are secrets that are kept from parents. Unfortunately, your child could be out there in what is it, a digital relationship with somebody that isn't good for them, and you don't know. Yeah. And that's another reason why parents go through phones, because that's real. That's a reality of today. That wasn't happening in my times. So there are secrets that young people are keeping from their parents that, while they may be developmental, they could be harmful. So we're not saying that should be done, because today there's a lot of ways to keep secrets, and parents like trying to keep on their toes is just very, very difficult. Yeah, but I really wanted to ask that of you, because I kept thinking, I don't think we were, but I don't also, it wasn't like we said, okay, there's no stuff for grown folks, and come on, and we're going to talk to you about everything.
Or come at 9 p.m. to let me check your phone before you go to bed, like that. That's another thing I've seen.
We didn't do it.
Yeah, that was not happening.
I know parents that do, and I can't say, right, that's right. To each his own, especially in these days and times, and especially when you don't have the elder wisdom of your parents, right, saying, oh, I remember when you did that, and here's what we did. No, they didn't have that wisdom of going through the period where you had your phones and were able to keep things quiet. Like, I grew up in the time it was only one phone, and I dare not answer it. Me and my sister dare not answer it. It had to be, usually my mom, she was the one home, but it had to be a parent, and they had to know who it was and why you called. And so there was not a lot of ways to keep that secret.
Yeah, for sure.
But thanks for letting me ask that
absolutely.
question.
Absolutely, real time work. This is all this is. We're just talking.
Yeah, because that's how it happens. It comes out. I'm thinking about stuff. Because believe me, we knew what the topic was going to be. We've discussed what we want to say about it. But then some things like spur my thinking or his thinking. I was like, you know what? Let's just kind of see if we can ask this on the spot and see what the response is.
This is the only time I'm cool with like going off script. Any other time I'm like, okay, let's stick to the notes. Like, they're great notes, but that's
we have them for a reason.
That's when it gets cool for me, because I'm finding stuff out. At the end of the day, these are the people that I live with, that I'm programmed to just loved and defend to the highest of extents, right? So just to know who I'm dealing with, right, and in all fashions, or close to, in whatever fashions that they'll let me in. It's a cool process. It really is a cool process.
Yeah, see, this is in real time, y'all. Like, Justin is finding out a lot of stuff on his show about me.
Yeah. I'll be like, okay, mic's off. Like, what was that about?
Right?
Like, where did that come from?
I never heard this.
I didn't see that in the notes. Right? Like, yeah, absolutely.
But I hear some stuff from him too that's always interesting, and that's the purpose, right? Encouraging the conversation, even around the difficult topics. So if we have inspired you to think, well, there is something that I really want to get off of my chest as a family secret, then I'm going to tell you what I think. My suggestion would be is, I'm going to think one thing that frustrates me about today. There are too many people having really important and intimate conversations through text. And I am sorry, you can call me old school if you want to, but I believe that there are things that absolutely need to be said in person. If you can't be face to face in the same room, there's Zoom, there's Meet, whatever. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
I don't know what is it. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, I know Zoom.
Okay.
And there's Zoom. There's ways to at least have it so you are looking at each other. And worse come to worse, then yes, be old school and pick up the telephone.
Yeah.
But the texting or the emailing, come on now, families, a secret. Do not do that. Really do have enough courage and I think respect for the person, right?
That's a big word for me. So like, that word definitely triggers people, and rightfully so, because it's a heavy word, right? It's up there with love. It's up there with, all that stuff. But I think that respect for that other person, right? It's like, who are you to me? And I'm going to at least show you who you are, right? To me, even in a way, you may not like.
Yeah, because coming up, we had that saying, say it to my face. Say it to me. I bet you won't say that to my face. So, say it to their face. That would be mine.
That's real. I think for me, what a suggestion that I would give, right? I've talked a lot about that intention setting, right? That thinking of the relationship that you have with this person, the depths of the secret, the potential harm, right? All of those things. And I think that really what I've found when, I've come into this type of scenario with friends or things of that nature, ex-friends of that nature, I love to reassure that person of simply not just where my mind frame was going in, right? I think for me, I'm one of those people where, like, it really is coming from love. Like, it really is coming from, like, I don't want to be the one to cause any hurt, or even in particular this hurt, whatever that is. Even though it may not be all me, like I'm playing my role, right? But sometimes that can just like override a person from doing that. But I think another thing you want to reassure the other person of is your feelings towards them, right? What that relationship is, what that means to you. and that's part of the showing them that I was just talking about, of who you are, what that relationship really is to you, and what that looks like. That's part of reassuring them that, okay, this is someone who really does care about me. This is someone who really does think about me, right? And that's good to hear. I don't think a lot of people are hearing often, I think about you and in this positive way, right? Or I think about you in this respectful way, in this honorable way, right? I think that, we joke in this world, we play with each other, and, especially guys, right? That's part of the way that we literally build our bonds, is by messing with each other and things of that nature. But I think you got to be able to do both. And especially the deeper the relationship, the ability to do both and to keep doing both is all the more important. And so part of that, I think, is showing them, look, I love you. This is where my head was at. This is what I think of you. This is what I think of our friendship. And I would love to, if you are open to it, continue the conversation around, getting back to what we know and our foundation. I've found that in my life, it doesn't work all the time, but in the times that it's worked with the people that needed to still be here, it's worked. So it's something I would suggest.
I think you just can't do it to harm the person. That's the other thing, is you have to have that mind frame and love. And if it's not your secret to tell, don't be telling it.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm fine with standing on that's not my
right. It's not my place to tell. Go see Bertha.
Right. I'm sorry that I even know, right? And that I can't tell, but it's just not my place. I think that's a very real thing.
Yeah. And because otherwise you're doing harm that really you shouldn't do. And also you got to look at your motives for telling that person. Right. I can believe that there are folks who say they really should know, but that's you saying they really should know and taking that out of somebody else's hands. If nothing else, then you go to the person that's holding the secret and you say, look, you really need to tell them. And they came to me, and while it's not my place, I can see how this is harming them. And so you need to.
What are you going to do?
Right,
it's on you.
It's on you. And you owe it to them to deliver that secret to
1,000%.
Yeah.
Stand on that.
Yeah. I like this topic.
Yeah, we're actually in agreement a lot for this one. That's cool.
I like this topic. I hope that we've given you something to think about, right? Because we said at the top, every family has secrets. Don't go try. I don't know. I can envision some of y'all going, "Hey, mom, we have secrets."
I'm that type too, but even I'm saying I let it happen.
Hey, sometimes that's the opening you need. Sometimes that might be the opening you need. And you know what? Okay, you know what? All right, I didn't want to tell you this, so I'll sit down, right?
Or I didn't want to ask this, or I didn't think I was ready for the answer, right? Don't ask a question you're not ready for the answer for. Right. But now I'm ready, right? That's
right. Sometimes that's the opening you need. And we really do believe that the more honest communication that happens, the better and more solid relationships can be, the less conflict we will have. And it's never going to be a conflict-free society, because it's not meant to be, right? Conflict does grow us. But somehow we as a society are really in love with conflict, and it's unnecessary a lot of the time. So if the secret is causing the conflict in your life, I hope we've encouraged you and given you some things to think about with regard to that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed and continue to enjoy, and hoping that you are going to follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page for the show, Working It Out. Follow, like, subscribe. Same thing with our YouTube channel. Follow, like, subscribe. Check out the replays there. Check out the replays on E360, because they're always there. Trajectory channel, and join us live, because every week we have a great new topic for you. It was one of the things that we truly believe in, why we do the show, is because we believe that conflict is here to teach you something about yourself. So go out there and find out what it is.
Thanks for going on this journey with us. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.